Ladies and gentlemen, Violent Games here. Today I wanted to teach you all how to run a melee build in Far Cry 5. Eventually you're going to have all the perks, of course, but I want to show you all how to basically level yourself throughout the game to have the most fun with melee combat. So without further ado, let's start with the perks. Now, the first perks you should grab are Health Boost 1 and 2. This is going to double your effective health early on, and put an asterisk on this perk series as well because you're going to want to grab every following rank as soon as possible. This perk is going to take priority in your build because having more health means that you can sustain more damage. The problem with being a melee build is it's very aggressive and you are going to take heaps of damage. And to help negate that, having more health is going to help you stay alive. It's very simple. After that, I recommend early game you actually go out of your way to complete the side missions that help you unlock some of the companions so that you can get access to the leadership perk. This is going to allow you to have an additional slot to add a new squad mate. Very, very effective whether you're in solo or you're doing co-op so that you can have two partners at once. This is going to make you very effective in combat as it takes a lot of heat off of you. It makes you get shot less, thereby increasing your sustain. After that, grab Takedown Mastery. Takedown Mastery is going to help diversify your playstyle, allow you to do chain takedowns from stealth and out of stealth, using both the sidearm takedowns and the chain melee takedowns. It's really satisfying when you pull it off, though do keep in mind that if an enemy is really, really close to you, they will do a gun butt melee attack that will interrupt this. So you need to kind of curate when you actually deploy this. Do keep that in mind, because it can cause you to die a lot if you aren't smart with it. Trust me, I learned the hard way. So do keep that in mind when you were taking this perk up. After that, I like to grab the Journey Pack. Now, the reason I grabbed the Journey Pack, for pretty much the entire reason I grabbed Journey Pack anyhow, is because it gives me more medkits. Having more medkits means I can run out of the combat and heal myself up really, really quick and then rush back in. Having 5 of these things feels overpowered in a lot of situations. And as a melee build, you're not going to use up a lot of resources because you're using melee weapons primarily. So you're going to be able to afford a ton of health kits. It's going to be very useful to have Journey Pack. After that, I like to grab Sneaky Sprint, which is going to allow us to move faster while crouched. Stealth is very necessary to approach certain engagements because you don't want to start an engagement early when you're not close enough to the enemy. And the best way to approach without being seen is to, of course, crouch walk. This is going to make this less painful. After that, go ahead and grab Ghost. It's going to make you make less noise when you're walking and sprinting. Again, you're closing the gap sooner and faster with perks like this. And also, falling damage is reduced because I'm a retard and I like to jump off of things. And as a melee build as such, you're going to want to jump off elevated points to try to get takedowns. If you happen to fail, this is a nice perk to have and a nice little passive. After that, I actually like to grab something that is unexpected. I like to grab Vehicle Buster. This isn't going to help you with your melee. However, I recommend as your primary weapon, because you only have one slot right now, grab the M60 Lmg. This weapon is extremely versatile. It helps you destroy vehicles really, really quickly. It has a heavy-hitting cartridge. It's just a wonderful, versatile gun. Of course, equipping it with the red dot sight, suppressor, and extended mags is highly recommended. Because later on in the game, guys, vehicles become really annoying, especially because of the airplane spawn rate. If airplanes spawn above you, it can be annoying as fuck when you're just exploring the world, and having the M60 as your primary, along with a Vehicle Buster perk, is going to help you take those things down. Using the RPG to take down planes early on is hard as fuck to do at times, unless they're strafing you. So I actually really like to have Vehicle Buster for that reason and use the M60 so that in certain segments of the game you will be forced to, you know, shoot at your targets, and having the M60 is the most versatile gun in the game. After that, I like to grab the heavy ammo bag because having more ammo for... Where's the damn perk? Okay, it's down here. I like to grab the heavy ammo bag so that we can have more rounds for our M60. The only drawback to LMGs in this game is that getting ammo for the weapon is actually kind of difficult. So you're going to want to buy and have as much on stock as possible. It's more important than actually performing with the weapon itself. Now, after that, we are going to grab Heavy Weapons Mastery. This is going to make managing these weapons a lot easier, give them a faster reload, because the reload for the heavy weapons are pretty bad, honestly. So having the Mastery perk equipped is really going to help with the weapons that we will be using as a complement to our melee. And then after that, I like to grab the Throwables bag. As you can see, I didn't pick this up because I'm an idiot, and I'll explain why later. This helps you carry more explosives, throwing knives, and bait. Now, when you're using a melee weapon, you don't always want to have to switch, off of your melee weapon because you want to be meleeing as much as possible. Having more throwables is a really good complement because you can just press R1 and throw out some C4 and immediately detonate it, and that can kill a massive group of enemies if you happen to bite off more than you can chew, or if an enemy is on a turret and you can't rush the surrounding enemies because of the turret, you can just throw, C4 or a grenade, or in some instances a throwing knife if you want to be sneaky. I really should have picked up Throwables bag. That's honestly my bad, but, I'm just experimenting with the game. But in retrospect, I should have grabbed the Throwables bag over the next few perks that I'm going to mention. Now, after that, I recommend you get the Close Combat Gear Pack. Later on in the game, you're going to have access to the Spiked Bat, which is one of the better melee weapons in the game, and you're going to be able to carry up to 9 of these suckers with this perk. Not only that, it's only 1 perk point, so it's very cost effective, and I really enjoy that. After that, we are, of course, going to grab Close Combat Mastery. Now, why did I grab this perk way later in the game? Well, 1, you don't get the Spiked Bat till later, and 2, this perk is not very effective in making melee weapons more sturdy. They seem to break really easily regardless, especially the Spiked Bat. It feels like after like 2 or 3 enemies, you're close to breaking one of these things. It's honestly more effective to have the Combat Gear Pack than it is to have this, but they do kind of feed into each other, so I still recommend it, but not early on. I would oh my gosh, I'm turning into Scooby-Doo. I would much rather have you spend your perks early on into useful things like health boost and more companions, because that's the kind of stuff that's going to keep you alive. After this, actually, I think we're about done. After that, basically, just pick whatever perks you want. I recommend picking up things like, the holster, so you can carry a variety of guns, or RPGs if you want to, just to, complete the weapon challenges. And then I would recommend, of course, getting grapple, because you kind of need to. It's necessary for a lot of the missions in the game. And then movement perks, like human fish are going to help you out as well. You get what I'm saying. From there, you're basically going to build yourself into a hybrid class, and that's the melee build. Anyways, guys, that's all I've got for you as far as the perks. I hope this helps you out. If you disagree with anything, let me know. I know a lot of people will say, oh, you need to grab Harvest Master early on. Why I don't agree with this is because it's very easy to actually get the plants if you Google the locations where they're already set and then just make a fast travel point close to there. And getting money as a melee build is very easy because you're not going through expensive resources ad nauseum. So I've never needed this perk, and it's an 8 perk point investment, and again, I would rather you spend your perk points on practical things earlier on than to just basically have an economy-based perk, because at the end of the day, that's what Harvest Master is. It's an economy-based perk. It helps you make a lot of money, but that's not really necessary when you're going to be using the aluminum bat for the majority of the gameplay, so hell, you'll probably be using the aluminum bat after that anyhow, just because of how fragile the freaking Spiked Bat is. So, again, Harvest Master, not really necessary. Let's move into the companions, shall we? Alright, the companions section. Which characters do I want you buddy up with in the game? I recommend, first and foremost, Grace Armstrong, the sharpshooting hero. The reason we do this is because of her passive Boom Boom. Her sniper shots will scare enemies. This is very effective for a melee build, as it not only takes pressure off of you, but it allows you to get some cheeky melee kills, because if enemies flee and they look away from you long enough, that considers them breaking line of sight, and once that happens, you can get a quick execution off. It's really effective when it happens. Her other passive just lets you know where her laser is so that you're not afraid of getting shot in the ass by a sniper. After that, or afterwards, Make sure this is an absolutely essential companion, and pick him. I don't know. What is Cheeseburger's gender? Never thought about it, actually. But you need to have Cheeseburger in your party, guys. Not because of bear arms. He will exercise his right to attack. That's not really going to help you, but his other passive, Cross to Bear, will. When you're rushing into the fray as a melee build and you don't want to necessarily get shot, having him in your party, taking the heat off you with his passive to kind of just tank damage for you, really, really useful. I remember when I picked this guy up, like, it completely made my build feel ridiculous, especially early on in the game, because I would just rush outposts, and I would have no trouble clearing them. In fact, I would barely get any kills before Grace and Cheeseburger would kill the majority of them for me. This combination is really deadly for taking the heat off of you. I can't stress that enough. These guys work really well together, especially if you want to play more of a berserker melee build. So these are the companions I recommend. They're wonderful. Alright guys, before I leave this video, I want to give you a few melee build life tips. First and foremost, how do you restock your bats? Later on in the game, you're going to want to have at least a few spike bats in your inventory. They still break kind of easy, so how do you restock them? When you go to the shop, you can't just reselect the bat and restock them. Also, you can't purchase them through the ammo purchase menu. Again, it's really weird. The game doesn't explain this mechanic at all, but if you want to restock your bats fully to 9, I currently have 4, what you need to do is just throw all your bats on the ground, then enter the shop.
Can't thank you.
Go to the weapons tab, go to the melee weapons, and then you're just going to re-equip your bat in whichever slot. I need to re-equip my other bat as well because I did that by accident. But as you can see, I now have 9 spiked bats. Really retarded mechanic, but I feel like you guys should know this. It's really important if you want to keep your supply of spiked bats up, because they just break so easily, and not knowing this mechanic can be very annoying. Now, just a few tips for a melee combat as far as, you know, engaging in open combat and things. I'll just go over a few fine points for you. So, first off, use your drugs. Your drugs can be very, very powerful, obscenely so, if you combo them together. Like, if you combo the Fast, the Furious, and Ultimate Survivor, you cannot die. You become extremely powerful to a degree that is almost unfair. So, make sure you, like, Google the location of each plant location. It makes the Harvester perk worthless as well. So, Google where you can find Jimson Weed and Prairie Fire. Those are probably the most important. And when you use the Furious, your melee strikes like insta-kill everyone. It's kind of hilarious. I recommend it whenever you're in a really sticky situation. Or if you want to approach a situation where melee shouldn't be viable, like everyone's on a turret and shit, grab the Ultimate Survivor, put that in your system. You cannot, like I said before, you can't die. It's freaking hilarious. I demonstrated it during one of my parts. And finally, you don't always need to use medkits when you take heaps of damage. Like, if you take enough damage, just duck out of combat and wait behind a crate or some sustainable cover. And if you're not being flanked from both positions, you can actually kite enemies over here, and once they actually enter your sight, you can usually get a quick takedown. This is because the way stealth works in the game is it considers that enemy has lost sight of you because you're crouched. I don't know why that makes a difference, but if you crouch behind the cover, you can, you know, start regenerating your health. And if enemies actually come to, you know, finish you off or cause problems for you, make sure you just sneak up and get a quick execution. And usually, if there are enemies like right around here or something like that, you could just use the sidearm execution and wipe them out really, really easily. So do keep in mind you can use little ambush tactics with melee as well. Another thing that you need to keep in account is try to jump off vertical points as often as possible to execute quick takedowns as well. If you jump from a vertical point that's even this high, you can get an immediate execution, and it just feels wonderful. And when you do this, you actually automatically loot them as well, so it actually helps your economy in the game and helps you restock on other forms of ammunition should you need it. So, that's all I got for you guys. If you need to, or if you want an example of how this plays out, all of the principles that I've kind of stated, check out my highlight series on my channel. All you have to do, you don't have to even subscribe if you're very stingy about that. I understand. I'm not going to hate on you. But just click on my channel, you know, next to my derp-ass face with my violin. Click on that channel icon, hit playlists, and it should be there for you in the Far Cry 5 highlights. I goof around, I play with this build, and I have a great time. And it demonstrates basically how I like to play the build on the hardest difficulty in the game. It'll give you a feel for how you should behave. You know, constantly doing slides to evade damage and break line of sight. Constantly going behind cover to regen health if I need to. Or healing literally just behind small structures. Like, helps you survive in this game. So, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. If you have, I really appreciate anybody who stops by. And if you are really intrigued, hit the subscribe button. Join the orchestra of gaming. Violent Games out.